YouTube, what's good, man? This is your guy, Manny, and you are listening to another episode, another segment of Talking Sports with Manny. If you are new to the channel, please like, subscribe, share the page. The more that the page grows, the more that the community grows, the more that I can do for the people who support the channel. Once again, thank you guys for listening. Thank you guys for watching. So on today's episode, I wanted to kind of break down where the running backs are today in terms of the landscape of the NFL in terms of running backs before the draft. I am recording this video at 4:02 p.m. This is Wednesday. So this is right before the draft. A lot can change tomorrow. I see potentially 2, maybe 3 running backs being selected in the first round. And I'm going to kind of go through them. So I'm going to share my screen. I'm going to pull up the teams, just to pull up the teams and to kind of go through where the running backs are in today's NFL, and then kind of look at what teams need running backs and what teams don't. So we start with the AFC East. You have the Buffalo Bills. They have Singletary and Zach Moss. Devin Singletary has come into the league. I think he's going on his 3rd year right now, and he's been very underwhelming. They brought him in there to be a bruiser. They brought him in there to be a guy that can pick up yards, pick up tough yards, and with the potential to catch some passes. They brought in Zach Moss last year in the draft, and Zach Moss is supposed to be, that game changer. He can catch some passes. Then he's also tough. He's also able to get some yards. Zach Moss and Singletary has not worked out. I've kept on saying that all Buffalo needs right now with that power offense is to add a running back that's legit. And who knows? Potentially that could be Najee Harris. I would love to see Najee Harris, but that might not happen. So the next team is the Miami Dolphins. They have Myles Gaskins, and Myles Gaskins had a great season last year, especially for those of us who play fantasy football. Myles Gaskins was able to put up some major points for us in Week 16, and he comes in as the starter right now. But Miami still needs that game-changing running back. If there's a chance that they can get a guy like Javonte Williams from North Carolina, or even a Najee Harris, or even a Travis Etienne, there's potential that they take one of those guys. But I see Miami taking a running back, maybe not in the first round. They do have 2 first-round picks, one early, one in the middle. I see them as a team that drafts a running back in day 2 of the draft. So Myles Gaskins owners, beware. I'm not saying that it's over for him. What I'm saying is I think that Miami adds a running back in the draft. There's tons of running backs in the draft, and I think that that's where a running back could go. So those are 2 teams back-to-back that need running backs. Now, we move on to the New England Patriots. They are also a team that needs a running back. So it seems like every team in the AFC East just about needs a running back. And when you look at New England, you got Sony Michel, you got Damien Harris. I think the New England Patriots are pretty much done with Sony Michel. So you have Damien Harris. They might add a running back in the draft. Yes, they have some nice young players. You have James White, who can do it all. And then Rex Burkhead, I believe he's still a free agent. Either he's a free agent or he's at the end of his deal. But either way it goes, New England can definitely add a playmaking running back into that backfield. We go to the Jets. Man, I don't know what the Jets are doing. They signed Tevin Coleman. They need more. I have no notes. I'm just kind of going off the dome. But I believe that the Jets need a running back in this draft. They're going to be one of the teams that I'm predicting to draft a running back. So, the guys that they have now on the roster are non-guaranteed. Perine, he came in last year. He didn't really give you much. So I don't see him as a factor. Now, we move on to the Dallas Cowboys. They have Ezekiel Elliott, and they have Tony Pollard. 2 solid running backs, one of the better running back duos in the entire league. I think they're set. You have the New York Giants from the NFC East. You have Saquon Barkley, and I believe they lost Wayne Gallman, and then they signed Freeman, I believe. One of the Freemans. They signed somebody. It doesn't even matter who they have as a number 2 running back because Saquon is going to be the main guy. He's going to be the bell cow. He's going to command a lot of touches. For me personally, in fantasy this year, I'm not messing with Saquon Barkley. I've had him 2 years in a row, and he's cost money. in my money leagues. I mean, I've drafted Saquon number 2 overall. I've traded a ton for that guy. I mean, that guy hurt me last year, but luckily in one league I was able to win because I had some really good wide receivers. I traded some really good wide receivers. So beware Saquon Barkley owners. I'm just not messing with Saquon this year. He's a guy that I won't draft. I might trade for him, but I'm not going to draft. I think I'm done ever drafting Saquon again. I'm just done. Now, you move on to the Eagles, and you have Miles Sanders. After Miles Sanders, it becomes a little murky. To be honest, I think they signed Jordan Howard, but outside of Jordan Howard, I can't really think of any notable names. Boston Scott. Boston Scott is a nice change of pace running back, but I would say that the Eagles are pretty much set at running back, but you just never know because they can always snag somebody in the 3rd to 5th round. Washington football. This is a team that I feel needs another running back. It's my favorite team. Tony Gibson came in as a wide receiver, played very, very well, learned how to play the running back position. He's going to command a lot of carries this year, and with the football team trading for Eric Flowers, you might want to go ahead and grab you Antonio Gibson right now that his stock is up. The Washington interior offensive line is looking really, really nice right now, and I see Antonio Gibson having a big season. But it's going to hurt him if the football team drafts a guy like Kenneth Gainwell from Memphis. And to reunite that duo together, it's going to be something special. So I see Washington definitely trying to get a running back in this draft, maybe after the 2 third-round picks. Maybe they snag a guy that they like in the 3rd. Maybe they snag a guy after the 3rd round. So I'm interested and I'm intrigued. My eyes are going to be open, waiting for that draft. We move on to the AFC North with the Baltimore Ravens. This is a super running team. You got J.K. Dobbins out there. You got Gus Edwards out there. And whoever else is out there. You got Lamar Jackson, of course, their best running back. The Baltimore Ravens are set at running back. I don't see much change happening as we move forward. You have the Cincinnati Bengals. They have Joe Mixon. It's another guy I'm probably never going to draft again. So you got Joe Mixon out here, and a lot of fantasy owners are expecting a big season out of Joe Mixon. Power to you. They just lost Giovanni Bernard, but that does not mean that Joe Mixon gets all the carries. They have some young backs that are not really notable, but they do have some young backs behind Joe Mixon. But this is a team where there's potential to draft a running back, and I'm here for it. I'm here for all of that. Then you have the Cleveland Browns. They have a very solid running attack with Kareem Hunt and Nick Chubb. I said that Dallas had the best running back duo. I lied. It's the Cleveland Browns, unless I find another running back duo as I continue to go through this list. So yeah, the Cleveland Browns with Kareem Hunt and Nick Chubb, man, powerful duo. They both have a potential to run for 1,000 yards. People forget the offensive coordinator is the same offensive coordinator from the Vikings. Made Dalvin Cook look amazing. So look for that. The Pittsburgh Steelers are primed to draft a running back. They just lost James Conner. They have Anthony McFarland out there. They have, Benny Snell, bunch of Jags, bunch of no names. So yeah, Pittsburgh might be the first team to draft a running back in the 1st round because they picked before Buffalo. I know that for a fact. Chicago Bears, you have David Montgomery, you have Tariq Cohen coming back from injury. They might look to add another back. They lost Mike Davis a couple years ago, and Mike Davis went to Carolina, which we're going to talk about. But outside of David Montgomery, I want to say they added another back, but the name escapes my mind right now. Like I said, I have no notes. I'm just going off the dome, just going off of what comes to me. But the Bears, they might draft a running back. I'm not taking, David Montgomery had a great season last year, had a heck of a season, won me tons of leagues. Montgomery was a guy that I was grabbing because people didn't want him, so definitely won me a whole bunch of leagues. Then you have the Detroit Lions. Everybody's high on DeAndre Swift this year. And Jamal Williams went out there from Green Bay. So that's a nice little combo right there. Have that other guy, I can't even think of his name, from Auburn that was on the team. He's just so far gone. Kerryon Johnson. Kerryon Johnson is just so far gone right now. He's not even valuable in Dynasty. So, yeah, Detroit is pretty much set at running back. And I like DeAndre Swift this year because he's going to be one of their better wide receivers as the team is constructed right now with Jared Goff. So Green Bay, they're solid. They're rock solid with Aaron Jones. They paid him. They let Jamal Williams go. We all knew that they were not keeping both backs. A.J. Dillon owners, I feel sorry for you guys. A lot of you guys invested high draft picks in the draft in Dynasty to get this guy. You guys will have to sit tight for another 2 years to see if A.J. Dillon is actually worth what the Packers spent in the draft, which was the second-round pick. We move on to the Minnesota Vikings. They have Dalvin Cook and Alexander Madison. They're rock solid. They're straight. We move on to the AFC South. You have the Houston Texans. You have David Johnson. You have Mark Ingram. You have Philip Lindsay. Who is the running back one in Houston? That is not a backfield that I want to mess with. I was excited with my David Johnson shares that I had so cheap. Now, I'm not so excited about David Johnson shares anymore. So, I don't know what's going to happen in Houston. It just dumps the trash with the whole Deshaun Watson debacle going on. We don't know what we're going to expect out of the Houston Texans. We move on to the Indianapolis Colts. They have another pretty good running back duo, but I don't think they're better than Cleveland. You can say that they're better than Dallas, depending on how you value Zeke. I've done a lot of redrafts. A lot of startups for Dynasty, and I've seen, what's his name? What is his name? Jonathan Taylor. I've seen Jonathan Taylor go in the top 5, top 3. So he's a hot name right now. Even though Marlon Mack is coming back from injury, everybody is still rocking with Jonathan Taylor. Everybody's telling me that Jonathan Taylor is going to be a top 5 back this year in fantasy. Let's see what happens. I possibly can see him as an RB1, but we got to see what Marlon Mack brings to the table. If Marlon Mack does what Marlon Mack does, watch out. Jonathan Taylor might not get to eat as much as he thought he was going to be able to eat. Now, we move on to the Jacksonville Jaguars. That's a team that's primed for a running back. If you ask me right now, who was the starting running back in Jacksonville last year? Oops, I lied. It's James Robinson. But even with James Robinson, it's still a gamble. Like, I understand he came in and put up some amazing numbers. It was amazing numbers in the process of losing. But, of course, we're talking about fantasy football, so it doesn't really matter what the numbers look like in terms of fantasy football. But what I will tell you guys is that James Robinson can have some upside. He can have some downside. You can sell James Robinson high while his value is high right now, or you can buy him low after the draft. Because if the Jacksonville Jaguars draft another running back, how would you feel about your James Robinson shares? That's all I'm saying. I don't know if Jacksonville believes that James Robinson can be their number 1 running back. I don't know. There has to be a reason why he went undrafted. Look at what happened with Philip Lindsay. I understand that James Robinson had a better rookie season than Philip Lindsay, but when you look at it, an undrafted is an undrafted. It just is what it is. And the running back position is so undervalued. It's one of the weakest positions in terms of values in the NFL. Like, people don't even value running backs. You just draft one every 2 to 3 years. So Jacksonville might draft a running back. If they draft a running back, I don't feel so good about being a James Robinson owner. I don't own James Robinson anyway in Dynasty. I don't know. I'm not a hater. Look, he balled out. He won me a couple of leagues last year, but I don't know. It's just something about James Robinson that scares me. So we'll see. After the draft, if they don't take anybody in the first 3 rounds, then you can possibly say, you know what, James Robinson is safe. He's going to be a potential RB1 again. And mind you, lots of running backs come back from injuries, and a lot of running backs had their quarterbacks injured as well. So it's going to be interesting season. And then let alone the rookies. So with all that considered, is James Robinson really an RB1? I don't know. We move on to the Tennessee Titans. They have Derrick Henry, and they have that other guy, Arrington Evans, or whatever his name is. He's not even a factor. He doesn't even matter. Derrick Henry is a top 3, top 5 running back. I believe he has 2 to 3 more elite years left. Move on to the Falcons. That's a team that just traded or just signed Mike Davis. And they signed Mike Davis. Mike Davis was an RB1 in fantasy last year for the Carolina Panthers. Who knows if he has the same type of success in Atlanta? And he's possibly a guy that you can draft and redraft, mid to late in the draft, and he can give you some value for those first 3 to 4 weeks, especially if Atlanta drafts a running back in the first, second, third round, and that running back is not quite ready. Travis Etienne seems to be a prime candidate for the Atlanta Falcons in the second round. I love the Etienne fitting in, especially if Atlanta drafts Kyle Pitts in the first round and ETN in the second round. That offense can be very, very good. I'm really loving that Matt Ryan pick. So because ESPN messed me up and removed my screen, I'm going to share my screen one more time and get back to how I had it. Share my screen. Where are you, ESPN? All right. We just got done talking about the Atlanta Falcons possibly having Travis Etienne after picking up a guy like Kyle Pitts. What does that offense look like? Matter of fact, if that happens, I'm drafting Travis Etienne in the third round of redrafts. If that happens, I'm drafting Travis Etienne in the first 2 rounds. I keep looking at my phone to see if there's any other breaking news, like the Bridgewater trade that happened earlier. So you have the Carolina Panthers, you have Christian McCaffrey. Anybody else on the roster does not matter. Don't really know who the handcuff is, and I really don't even care. We move on to the New Orleans Saints. New Orleans Saints are solid. You know, they have Alvin Kamara. Whoever is behind Alvin Kamara, Latavius Murray, you know, he's cool. He's a nice little handcuff, but whatever. You move on to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. That's a mess of a backfield. Giovanni Bernard just signed. You have Ronald Jones the second. You have playoff Lenny. I don't know what they're doing in that backfield. Just good luck. Just draft one of those guys late to mid-round and redraft and just wish for the best. The Denver Broncos, they have Melvin Gordon. I see Melvin Gordon as a top 15 back again this season for the second time in a row. So I really love what Melvin Gordon has to bring to the team. All right, so let's kick it off with the Kansas City Chiefs backfield. Clyde Edwards-Helaire had a great season last year. It's kind of slowed down, but he's still going to be an RB1. He's still going to be an RB1 for the Kansas City Chiefs. They lost Damian Williams. They might take a back in I don't want to say what round, but they might draft a back. They have a few guys that they like, but I still like Clyde Edwards-Helaire to have a big season. He's playing in a high-octane offense, so he has a chance to get double-digit touchdowns as well as 1,000 yards this season. I would love to see him being used more in the passing game, but that's not happening. Vegas Raiders, they went on and signed Kenyon Drake. Kenyon Drake to this backfield, it hurts Josh Jacobs, but I think that Kenyon Drake is not a very good running back. I still like Josh Jacobs a lot. So we'll see what happens there. Move on to the Chargers. The Chargers have Austin Eckler. They can still draft him back because Joshua Kelly was not good at all. Joshua Kelly was not a very good running back this past season. So that's a candidate to go ahead and draft a running back to pair with Austin Eckler. It seems like every team needs 2 good running backs. That's just a new system. And if you don't have 2 good running backs, you got to have a McCaffrey, Kamara, Saquon Barkley type. That's just kind of how the NFL is moving right now. Either you have a bell cow, super running back, or you just go ahead and you just get you know, two good to decent running backs. We've seen Le'Veon Bell falling from grace. We've also seen Todd Gurley falling from grace. So you're going to start to see some of these running backs fall off. Move on to the NFC West with the Arizona Cardinals. James Conner just signed a contract with the Arizona Cardinals. Everybody was on the Chase Edmonds train. Chase Edmonds still has a chance to be a top back this season if the Cardinals don't draft anybody else in the draft. So that's another team that I feel could possibly draft a running back in the draft this year. Move on to the Los Angeles Rams. I'm a big Cam Akers guy. I think that Cam Akers has a chance to be the top 12 back this year. Henderson does not scare me at all. He's just a guy. I mean, if Henderson was so special, then why draft the Akers? That's the thing. When you have a young running back or a young running back room, you continue to add to it. You get rid of veterans. Like we see it all the time. Teams get rid of veterans and they continue to draft running backs. I won't be surprised if the Rams don't draft another one, but I don't think that Henderson is going to be a threat to Akers. I think Akers is going to run away with the job this year and be a 3-down back. But it's a risk that you got to take, especially in redrafts. In redrafts, you don't know where to get these guys. But if it's in Dynasty, you can get an Akers, first, second round and wait on him. Some people are taking Akers in the first round in Dynasty. But it's just kind of it's all about who you believe in and how you're trying to build. I've seen a startup where Akers was taken at the end of the first round, early second round. So everybody plays different. A lot of guys go for youth. I've seen lots of wild things happen, especially in tight end premium leagues. I mean, crazy things happen. So all I'm saying is, I think Cam Akers can be a top 12 back this year, and if you get him in the right draft and redraft, possibly win. So yeah, if you can grab this guy in Dynasty, you want to go do it now. San Francisco 49ers, that's just the backfield that nobody ever wants to mess with. You got Raheem Mostert out there. You got who all is all out there? They just signed Wayne Gallman. You probably still got Jeff Wilson, which is my favorite out of everybody. But the way that Shanahan does his thing, he possibly might draft a guy in the 6th or 7th round and ends up being the guy. So you just never know with this guy. So I think I have one more team left. I'm going to share my screen one more time just to have that guideline of what teams to talk about. But yeah, Shanahan, you just never know what to expect from the guy. Sometimes he's on his game, sometimes he's not. So you just never know. So the last team is the Seattle Seahawks. Seattle Seahawks, you have Carson, and outside of Carson, you really don't have much. I think that the Seattle Seahawks should go ahead and draft a running back this year. They have Rashad Penny, who's coming off an injury, but can you really trust Rashad Penny? So this is just the landscape of what the NFL looks like with all the running backs out here. You know what I'm saying? The draft is tomorrow. We don't know what the landscape is going to look like post-draft. But I will do another video post-draft on what the running back landscape is looking like in the NFL. And then also after training camp, lots of guys are going to get cut. Are some of these running backs going to make teams? Are some of these running backs going to be out of jobs? Find out on the next episode of Dragon Balls. I'm just kidding. Once again, guys, my name is Manny. You're listening to Talking Sports with Manny. Please be sure to like, subscribe, share, comment. All this helps the channel out. I appreciate you guys. I love you guys. You guys stay safe. I'm out. Peace.